Hi everyone, it's Alicia, and I am really excited to be here with you all. Looks like I'm having some trouble with one of my groups here, so let me just figure out which one this is. I'm gonna go in and see what's happening. I hope everyone's doing well, and just excited to start this actual plant-based cooking session with you all. We are making vegan meatloaf tonight, and this is actually a lentil loaf. So I had someone, I think her name is Chi Chi Merritt, and if I said your name wrong, I am so sorry. But one of the viewers from our last plant-based cooking session had requested that I make this lentil loaf. So that's what we're making tonight. I'm really excited. Let me see what's going on with my other Facebook group here because it seems like we're not in. And this is wild. I don't know why. I don't want anyone to miss out. You know what I'm saying? So we'll give it a few seconds here and then we'll get going. Let's see. So the last time we made gumbo, and I'm interested to hear if anyone had the opportunity to actually make the gumbo. And if you did, let me know because I would love to hear how your gumbo turned out, of course, right? So let's see here. It's so weird. I'm not, let's see. Yeah, that's so bizarre. I'm not sure what's happening. So I'm sorry for those in the actual Facebook group that can't see this. This sucks. So, like I said, tonight we're making the lentil loaf as promised. And let's see if there's a way for me to add those on Facebook because I'm not sure why those on Facebook they don't have the opportunity to actually watch this. It's so weird. Let's see. This is bizarre. Uh, let's see. There's the one for this group. But I had one that was actually for the whole Facebook, right? But for some reason it's not. Um, so let's see. Let me remove it, it says. And save the changes and add it again and see if that did it. I think we're live with the Facebook group as well. Okay, yay! So we are live on every platform. So in the event that you missed this, oh no, no. Let's add. Now let's try it and see. See if this works. Let's see. Hopefully this works. According to StreamYard, which is the platform I'm using, it says we are live in the actual Facebook feed. So I am praying to the heavens above that that is the case. And we'll get going. So guys, like I said, I'm really excited tonight. We're making lentil loaf. And I wanted to show you some of the ingredients that I'm going to start with. So I basically pre-cut like all the vegetables that need to be sauteed and stuff like that just for time's sake. And also because like every time I cook, y'all, I'm cooking for my family, so I want to try to get food up and going for them so we're not eating so late. You know what I'm saying? So for the lentil loaf, I actually purchased pre-cooked lentils from Trader Joe's, and you can get this in like the refrigerated section. So I got the pre-cooked lentils. If you want to cook the lentils, you're more than welcome. You can get like a dry, the bag of lentils and actually boil them. But for the sake of time, if you can find a pre-cooked lentil package, that would be great. This is the one from Trader Joe's. Like I said, it's what the actual package looks like. I use it a lot. It helps a lot with like just cooking time. It basically cuts it in, I guess I'd say half, if not more. So there's that. And I'm going to show you what those lentils. So this is the actual what they look like before they're smashed. And so what it is, I smashed some of them to get more of that like soft consistency, and then we'll keep some for the actual lentil like that are actually still in the little pods. This is what it looks like smashed. Not so attractive, but it is what it is. All right. Also in this lentil loaf, I actually already crushed, but these are walnuts, and a lot of vegan, especially lentil-based meatloaves, I can't even think right now, they have walnuts in it. So these are already chopped up walnuts in here. I'm going to be pretty careful because I piled on everything. In this particular container, it is, if you can see at the bottom, I did like a nice little 1, 2, 3. So these are red onions. Y'all know I love my red onions. Oh, there's my daughter. Green pepper and mushroom. Give me 1 second because she forgot her key. This is what happens when you are doing things and someone arrives out of nowhere. 1 second, y'all. All right, guys. So, like I said, those are the ingredients we're going to start sauteing, which is, like I said, was the red onions, the green peppers, and the mushrooms. So we'll start with that here shortly. Obviously, garlic. We'll always use our garlic, right? And as well, we're going to add some carrots to the loaf as well. And we have tons of seasonings. So as we go, I'll start shouting out whatever seasonings I'm using. You can see we have our other camera over there, so you'll get to watch me actually in action. But beyond just the vegan meatloaf, I also want to let you guys know, if you can see this here, I'm also making, this is called, well, I'll show it in the bigger screen. This is from Trader Joe's again. Hello. It's the organic power grains. And so in this actual blend, it's baby kale, baby red char, baby spinach, baby collard greens, baby mizuna, never heard of this, and frise. So there's that. But then also at the bottom, you can't see it, I also added in some bok choy. I love bok choy. And I had some bok choy that was probably on the fritz if I didn't use it today. And that's the thing about getting like fresh, vegetables and stuff. Always want to make sure that you use them as soon as possible because, they always go bad, right? So if you're interested, though, in this particular mix, I saute it with like garlic and then grapeseed oil, and I'll add in like some seasonings. But it's a really good blend, and if you're into greens like I am, it's really great. So definitely, that's what we're cooking there. And then also with this dish, with the vegan meatloaf, I decided to make. Okay, I showed it over there. I decided to make some roasted red potatoes here. And so the seasonings I've already added the seasoning to it. And so it's basically grapeseed oil. You can see that grapeseed oil. I added some thyme and rosemary. Of course, my everyday seasoning from Trader Joe's. Can't live without it. Everyday seasoning. Garlic powder. And I also added in some of my Bragg's. I'm running low here. The Bragg's amino liquids. Oh, amazeballs. So I added all that onto these potatoes. And like I said, I also added in the rosemary and thyme. And I'm going to actually put this in the oven now so it can start cooking. I'm going to put a little bit of aluminum foil on it and we'll get going. So tonight, like I said, this is the lentil loaf. We're doing the power grains and then the seasoned potatoes that we're just about to roast. So I'm going to put a little bit of, put some aluminum foil on it so you can throw this in the stove. And then eventually I'll take the aluminum foil off. I just want them to get tender at this point. And the amino acid that I put on there, it gives it enough juice for it to kind of like do its thing so it's not too dry or get stuck to the actual pan. All right, so let's get going. So we're going to start sauteing. Let me turn on. And this is the loaf pan I'm going to use for the actual lentil loaf. I'm adding in parchment paper just so we won't have any issues with the actual meatloaf sticking when we pull it out. All right, so let's get started. All right, cool. Let me just put this back over here. Actually, let me take it off because it's a little warm. I don't need any problems. All right, cool. So let's get started here. I hope you guys are doing well. It's been busy in my world. I've been doing a lot of stuff, so I just feel like I'm going nonstop. I'm pretty sure you guys feel that way too. But so running low here on the grapeseed oil. Actually, I have another one over here, but I wanted to get rid of this one here. And honestly, I probably should add a little bit more. So I'm just finished that one, but this is just the grapeseed oil that I'm using tonight, along with the old one I have. And I use grapeseed oil for basically most of my high heat cooking. It's great. It's a great oil. Not too much more that we need. And we'll let that get hot, do its thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in our onions, our green pepper, and our mushrooms into the pan and saute those for until, it's not that you don't want the onions to be completely iridescent, but you want it to have a little bit of cooked type of vibe there with those vegetables, and then we'll start actually putting together the lentil loaf. And like I said, anything that I cook for the most part is going to be simple. It's going to be easy, big seasonings. This is my nephew, God bless. I know. What's up, Chris? So you want to make sure that you don't cook it for too long, but just enough to actually, make things, work for the actual lentil loaf. Because you don't want the stuff to be too soggy. Oh, congrats! You'll be great. Going on dates here. Good stuff. All right, guys. So let's see here. Let's see. It feels a little hot. All right. So let's go ahead and get a spoon. I'm going to turn this down a bit because I had it on high just so we could get hot pretty fast. Little beans. All right. So we'll just kind of throw it all in here. Okay, guys. And with this, I'm going to add in some of the garlic, not all the garlic that I'm actually going to use. I'm going to add some of this garlic in for the greens. So we're just going to add just not half, but I'm still going to use some garlic powder at some point. So we're going to let this saute for a bit. I'm going to add in some everyday seasoning because I know I love my everyday seasoning. Just going to let this do its thing here. Move this aside. This is going to be the actual bowl that we transfer everything in. Just add a little bit of everyday seasoning. Nothing too crazy. I also want to let you guys know, we'll go through this. I'll show you exactly everything I use for it. But I made my own vegan Worcestershire sauce. And, for those who aren't too, worried about eating Worcestershire sauce, because it's not vegan, you can use traditional Worcestershire sauce. But I made a homemade one, and I will share the recipe, like I always do, either tomorrow or the next day. Hopefully I'll be able to give you guys everything tomorrow. So this is looking good. We're going to keep sauteing here. Let me turn this a bit. Okay. Looking good. The cool thing about the greens, though, with sauteing them, it won't take that long. Can you guys see here? Let me see if you can see. Actually, there we go. That's a little better. Now you can see me. So just sauteing these up a bit. Okay, and while this is doing this thing, right, I'm just going to go ahead and just transfer. Oh, this is thick. I'm going to transfer the lentils that I smashed already into this bowl. Just going to free up some space on this counter. Turn this down just a bit because it's going to town here. We're going to put in the regular lentils as well. Okay. And then the rest of the garlic, like I was saying. Hi, babe. Put in the rest of the garlic here. Like that. And then we can just add, like I said, while this is doing its thing, we'll just add everything. Because basically with the meatloaf, you're just dumping everything that you have, that ingredients wise, and there's no real strategic thing with it. So we're going to put in the carrots here. So we've just added in our lentils, we've added in our garlic, as well as the carrots. That's looking good. Actually, I have little mushrooms back here. I forgot I had so many mushrooms. Just wanted to transfer those in to the skillet. There we go. All right, and we'll put this in the sink because I'm trying to create as much space as I can. All right. Perfect. It smells really good. And I've used this season, I'm going to share with you here a few times. And I'm actually going to add it into this. This is the sofrita from Trader Joe's. This stuff is so good. I'm running low, as you can see, because I use it a lot. But it's really good. It's like an Italian blend. And the recipe that I actually looked at for the lentil loaf suggested that you use a lot of herbs. And I thought, well, I'm actually just going to use this whole thing because, yeah. So, and in this actual sofrita, so what's in it, you're probably wondering, it is crispy onions, sun-dried tomatoes, sea salt, garlic, red peppers, parsley, rosemary, and sage. Fire. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some oregano too, because I love oregano, and it makes so many things great. So, like I said, the actual recipe called for like tons and tons of seasoning and herbs rather. So, more oregano. And I think once we mix this up pretty well, we can then transfer this over into the lentil loaf mix here. Like I said, I want the onions are kind of getting to the point where they are a little iridescent, and I didn't really want it to go that far, but it'll be fine. It smells really good, y'all. It smells fire. All right. Doesn't have to be too crazy. I just want to make sure that the turn that off. Turn the eye off. I just want to make sure that the seasoning was mixed thoroughly there. So we're just going to transfer this right on in to the bowl. And so for those who are just tuning in, we're making lentil loaf. It's basically a plant-based vegan meatloaf. And so far we've sauteed vegetables that consist of red onion, mushroom, and green pepper. I added in several herbs. And now we're on to, actually, let me see if I can bring this up so you can see here. Can you see this here? We'll just kind of so you can see what's going on. It's fine. So another thing I forgot. Give me 1 second. I am actually going to create, because in actual meatloaves you can add an egg to bind it. But I'm going to show you guys. I wanted to show you how to make a vegan egg, actual alternative that helps with binding stuff. And I'm going to use flaxseed meal, like the actual meal of it. So let me get that out, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really simple. And I make a lot of baked goods. Now, I'm not like a major baker, but if I am going to bake, I do use this to actually replace an egg. So actually get a spoon so this all comes together. Talk amongst yourselves. All right, here we are. So we're going to basically add in our egg, right? And so like I said, we're using the organic flaxseed meal, and you can get this pretty much anywhere, but obviously I go to Trader Joe's. So this is the actual brand that I use, but you can use any flaxseed meal, and it'll actually create like a consistency, like a jelly consistency. So what are you making? We're making lentil loaf, which is basically an alternative to meatloaf. So that's what I'm making right now. Right now, I'm showing you how to actually create an egg. out of flaxseed. All right, so you want to take basically a tablespoon, so 1 tablespoon. So it's basically a 1-to-1 ratio, and you kind of have to kind of gauge it. I'm not, and for those who have been watching me, I don't actually measure stuff. It's just whatever's happening in my spirit. So it's basically 1-to-1. So we're adding in this here, and I will show you, and then you're gonna add in a tablespoon of water. I'm adding a little bit more because this is technically not a table. Well, it's a tablespoon, but it's not like perfect measurement. Was he serious? So we're just gonna mix that in, okay? Add a little bit more, I think. All right, so add a little bit more, okay? And as you mix it, it creates like almost like a, not jelly, but like a really thick consistency. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like really thick, almost yolky-like. And so we're just gonna add that in to our meatloaf. And this is like our egg. Pretty cool. And it's super simple. You just basically add the water to the flaxseed, and that causes the binding. Done. So there's that. Now, also with this, we're going to add in, so this particular recipe called for oats. I'm using the 365 oats from Whole Foods. And we're going to add in just a bit, not a ton of oats. Just kind of till I see fit. I think that's good. That's fine. That looks good. And then on the same vein, we're going to add in some breadcrumbs. So these are the Italian style breadcrumbs from Whole Foods. We're going to add in these. Okay. Until I see fit. Cool. That looks good. All right. So we basically added in all the dry actual ingredients that we want to add in. And let's see. We can add in some more of our everyday seasoning because you can never have enough everyday seasoning. Okay. I already added in the fresh garlic, but I'm going to add in a little bit of garlic powder. And the reason I'm so generous, I guess you want to call it that, with the seasonings is because with this type of actual meal or the actual meatloaf and all the different ingredients, because a lot of these things they're very bland in flavor initially, it requires a lot more seasoning for that reason. Okay? We're going to rinse the spoon off because we have to also add in our tomato paste. Okay? And actually use the other part of this to create the sauce that goes on top of the lentil loaf. All right. So we've added all these fun things. And now basically it's time for us to assemble. We can add in our actual walnuts. We're going to throw them right in. No big deal. Throw them right in. Okay. And like I said, everything is ready to go. And while this is in the stove, we'll cook our actual greens, and then we'll be all set. Now, before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about this Worcestershire sauce that I made. So, homemade vegan Worcestershire sauce. What I used was I added in maple syrup to this actual recipe, cinnamon, molasses, and the reason why I added molasses is because it asked for brown sugar. I didn't have any brown sugar, so I substituted mine with molasses. If you have brown sugar, make it happen. Apple cider vinegar, obviously my Bragg's, and you can also use soy sauce if you have soy sauce. I always use Bragg's, and basically as it says on here, it's a soy sauce alternative. So that's what I used. Okay. Garlic powder. It also asks for onion powder, but I didn't have any onion powder. I just added more garlic powder. You know, just make it your own. It is what it is. But now, here's this. We're going to add this right on in. Okay? Add that right into there. Awesome. And then I'm going to add in some more grapeseed oil. I just don't want things to be too dry. Ooh. Awesome. And then so we just mix at this point. Okay? So mix all this together. It smells so good, y'all. Like, I'm not even joking. And so, like, I've made lentil loaves in the past. I haven't made this particular recipe. But when I think her name is Cece or Chichi. I guess I'm saying your name wrong. I'm so sorry. But when she suggested this, I was like, oh, let's, I'll do it. And let me find a new recipe to actually work on. So I love trying new ways of doing things, It's really cool and it's fun. So I'm gonna keep mixing until everything gets mixed together well. And if you want, you can use your hands. No judgment. No judgment at all. I'm not gonna use my hands. But like I said, I will use my hands to actually mold it. But if you want to get in there, go for it. No judgment on my end. So we will, after this is mixed up well, I'm actually going to taste it too to make sure the flavors are what I want. It smells amazing. So I can't imagine that it doesn't taste great, but listen, I'm going to taste it. Oh, that's great. Great. That's really good, y'all. So we're good with that. Sweet. All right. So now, let's get our little pan. Now, this is my parchment paper situation. It's a little on the fritz, but let's not judge. All right. And honestly, the way this is looking, I think I might have made. We'll see. Let's see. This looks like it might be a little too big for this. Let's see what happens here. We'll add that in. Oh, we might be able to. And what I might do is just create this one and then just. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to really have to use my hands. Look at that. So. Yeah, I think I kind of went overboard with my. How much I used. I think because I used a whole container of the lentils. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to freeze this and have it for another time. There you go. We'll have lentil loaf again. It's already ready to go. All I have to do is just throw it in the what? Oven. All right. So now in the recipe that I saw, they had the sauce on top already. I'd rather cook it a bit, and like I said, it's up to you how you want to do this. So, I don't know if you can see that, but that is what it should look like. Okay. So now we're gonna put this in the oven. Let's see here. The actual potatoes smell awesome. I'm gonna check on them here shortly. Cool. All right, so we will put this to the side, and I will freeze that for later. So, like I said, we have more than enough. Like I said, I'm gonna freeze the rest and go from there. Now I'm gonna clean this pot out because we're gonna start our greens. And what I like about making like leafy greens is the fact of how fast they cook when you saute them. Even collards, like if you saute them, surprisingly, they cook pretty fast. And these particular greens I'm making today, I would say 10, 15 minutes tops. If that, I don't think it takes that long. And I don't encourage you to overcook your greens because you want to have as much life to them as possible. Hello. How are you? How about yourself? I'm good. You're gonna say hi? My wife. Hello. All right, so we're gonna turn this on and actually wipe this out. It's a little wet on the inside. All right. Hi. How's it going in here? Smells good. It's going pretty good. All right, guys. So now we're gonna add some oil to the pan. Oops. One thing about this, I like this little container, but the oil always gets caught up on the top of this. It's so crazy. I'm just gonna let the oil get hot for a bit. I actually, babe, you want to hand me some more garlic? I just realized I need more garlic. I'm gonna bring it back on the day. I'm glad you didn't. You have enough garlic. All right, guys. We do. We have enough garlic. You might hand me that knife over there, the bigger knife. So I guess I overestimated my whole garlic situation here. Thank you. All right. I'm gonna chop up like 2 or 3 cloves here, and that's basically I'm gonna add in terms of like any other fresh items. Sometimes I add onions, but these particular greens, the garlic is enough really flavor wise for that. Okay. And the oil should be hot because I have it on pretty hot. Yeah, it's hot. All right, y'all. Cool. All right, so hello. The oil is definitely hot. All right, so we're gonna take our greens. I'm just gonna transfer them slowly over. Some of them are still a little wet, and don't be afraid if it pops up at you. Kind of part of the process. And actually, at one point, like I think like a few months ago, I had so much water on something I was cooking. Like the fire came up, I freaked out. It was a whole situation. Clearly, I'm here to tell the story, but it was not fun. All right. So, and don't be intimidated by if your greens are like kind of piling over in your actual pan or pot or whatever. Just it'll eventually start wilting down. So I'll put my garlic right on top. Okay, and then for the actual seasoning, I'm gonna add the amino acids, so the brags, and add the brags in there. Okay, not a ton because it can get really salty, brags can, and then the whole thing is ruined. And it's like good, like salt. Of course, my everyday seasoning because y'all know how I roll. Add that in, and literally that's all I'm adding to these greens. So it's done. Oh, that's not on the actual stuff. Yikesy. All right, so let's get what did I do with that spoon? Who knows? We'll just use this. We'll turn it down a bit. And I'm actually going to put the top on this to allow it to cook down a bit. All right, got a few greens here. You smell them being a little roasted here on the stove top. It is what it is. Okay. All right, guys. So there's that. Put this back over here. So now, while this is all doing its fun stuff, let's clean this bowl out. And I'm going to actually create the sauce that we're going to use for the top of the meatloaf. Okay? The meatloaf cooks for about 45 minutes. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm cooking everything at 375. Okay? Let me move this back. Before we start actually dealing with that, let's take a look at the potatoes. So they've been in there for a minute. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh, they look great. I don't know if you can see that down there. To take my word for it, just kind of move this around a little bit. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they look really good. I'm gonna flip them over. You can smell like the rosemary and stuff. So, woo, smells tasty. All right, y'all. So we'll let those cook for a little bit longer. After the meatloaf is still doing its thing, I give the potatoes about 5 to 10 more minutes. Nothing too crazy here. Mix this off a bit. All right. And we'll get to the sauce here. We're just going to make sure that our greens are doing their thing. Like I said, see how this is kind of like wilted down now? Doesn't take long. And now you can see the actual bok choy. This is a whole mix of different types of greens along with bok choy. Like I said, I love green leafy vegetables. Like literally could eat them every single day. I mean, I grew up eating like Southern style greens. So like, but we grew up on mustard and turnip greens. You know, a lot of people eat collard greens, but I didn't really grow up on those. I'll eat them. Listen, I like them. They're good. I love greens, period. So I'm not, you know, gonna like completely say no to them if they're there. But I prefer mustard and collard. This is over here. All right. So now let's make the actual sauce for the top. So for the top, we're just going to use the rest of that tomato paste that we added into the meatloaf. Okay, we're going to add that in, and with the recipe that I took, so the loaf recipe that I actually found online. This is the recipe for their sauce. And of course, with me, you know how I roll. I'm going to probably razzle dazzle a little bit more, but here's the balsamic vinegar. We're going to use that as well. It called for that. There's that. Of course, we're going to add in some everyday seasoning from Trader Joe's. Okay. Turn this down a bit. The greens doing their thing. We're adding some garlic powder. Okay. A little bit of grapeseed oil just for the sake of adding it. And see what I'm saying? Like that is so crazy town. So we got that. I'm gonna add in a little bit of the rags, not a ton, just enough to kind of get something going. And then I'm gonna add in some molasses for the sweetener. Because I mean, a lot of people will just use like something like a barbecue sauce. And I'm gonna try this sauce and see how it tastes. If it's not, you know, my thing, next time I'll just go back to my old barbecue sauce mixture. And basically with barbecue sauce mixture that I make, it's just barbecue sauce. Sometimes I add a little bit more ketchup, maybe a little bit of like brown sugar or molasses, something like that, garlic powder, and everyday seasoning, and then voila, done. Let me see. So I can see this was kind of like doing its thing here. I'll let this cook for a few more seconds and we'll be done with this. This is looking pretty good. You can see that there, but the greens are basically done, y'all. That's why I always like to cook these last, because it doesn't take any time to actually put them together. Let's see. I'm mixing up the sauce here. Let's see how this tastes actually. We'll talk about that. So we need to actually add in some more sweetness. We'll probably try. You know, I'm actually going to add some maple syrup. Hey, everything's trial and error, you know. That should actually do it. We'll add some more garlic powder to it. And a little more every day. How are we looking over here? Yeah, that's done. We'll turn that off. Give it a breather. So our greens are done, y'all. They're all done. Believe it or not. They are all done. And add a little bit more of the balsamic. I think that's what it was. I was missing some balsamic in here. Sweet. All right. I think this will do. have that certain color to like a meatloaf type of sauce. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. Let's try this out now. Yep, that was it. So scratch the blackstrap molasses, add the maple syrup, y'all. You won't be sorry. All right, guys. So there's that. Let's move this to the side, and I'm gonna actually pull this back a bit. I'm going to pull out the potatoes. Okay, they are donesy. So let me get an actual thing. I don't need to burn my hand. I know I don't. All right, I'm gonna show you guys how beautiful these look. Look at those. Aren't those beautiful? They look great. They smell amazing as well. Like really smell good. So I'm gonna sit those there. I'm gonna turn the meatloaf just so it's like right in the middle. And actually what I can do, now that it's been cooking for a little bit, and like I said, this is because it is lentil based. It's not gonna take a ton of time to cook, and we probably have like 20 more minutes of it to cook. Just gonna add it right on top. Okay. And like I said, guys, I will share this recipe with you. Tomorrow I will send pictures. If you're in the Eating Me group, and if you're not in the Eating Me group, you should join the Eating Me group, because this is where I share all the recipes of what I'm making. And because you watching this, you could forget, like, oh, what did she say about that? How did she add that or whatever? All the recipes are in the group under these different events that I have. So don't miss out on being in the group. And then just being in the group in general allows you to like be a part of a community that's pretty awesome. I share a lot of informational stuff about eating as well, particularly, as it relates to just things that are just very informative. So I like to keep people informed. I like to be informed. So if I find out things, I share it with you because I want you to be just as informed as well. So guys, like I said, if you've been joining the Eating Me group, definitely take a chance to join the Eating Me group. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to my podcast, I have an amazing podcast. It's called the Eating Me Podcast. And we have some awesome actual guests on the podcast. This week we had Noah Zachary, who is an actor, a writer, a producer, and he has a short film that just came out. It's called Shirt Tugger. So when you get an opportunity, take the time to listen to this week's podcast with Noah Zachary. Like I said, he has a short film that's called Shirt Tugger, and we have a whole, an amazing conversation about binge eating and how it has had an effect on his life, and actually is the reason why he created the film. So definitely tune into the Eating Me podcast to listen to that actual episode. Y'all, we have done it. The food is all done except the meatloaf. So we're going to give that about 20 more minutes. Thank y'all for joining me this week. And like I said, I will share with you the recipes to everything we cooked tonight. So we made our lentil loaf. We made our roasted potatoes, as well as we made our sauteed greens. I love y'all. I'm so glad you tuned in. And I will see y'all the last Monday of this month. So that's the 27th. We will be back cooking again for Plant-Based Mondays. And if there is an actual recipe that you want me to try, just like this week, someone reached out and said, hey, can you make a lentil loaf? Let me know. I would be more than happy to demonstrate how to make certain things that you've been curious about, but maybe felt like, oh, what if I bomb? Or how is it going to work? I don't mind bombing. I'm cool with that. I'll figure it out. We'll go from there. So if there's anything that you're interested in, let me know. And next week's actual meal, not next week, but on the 27th of this month will be the meal that you suggest. So definitely let me know. I would love, love, love to actually cook that for y'all and share the recipe with you as well. Like I said, don't forget to tune into this week's podcast with Noah Zachary on the Eating Me podcast. Stay tuned for any updates that I have on in the Eating Me group here on Facebook. I love y'all, and I will see you on the 27th. Bye, y'all.